Hello again, Tryhard Enemy here. Welcome back to the Starting Fresh series. Today's episode will be episode 3. Now, today we're going to be discussing how I made my 18 million gold buying and reselling on the auction house, and buying and reselling low-level items, and actually farming low-level items as well. Now, a good thing to remember is that we actually made that 18 million gold in this character without even hitting Act 3 in Inferno. So that means we didn't farm a single item in Act 3 to make any of that gold. It's literally just buying, reselling, and then the gold from leveling we made on kind of just the base. So we're going to be going over exactly what items you want to be buying, what items you want to be reselling, and just how to identify good items that are worth buying and reselling. And then we're going to go over exactly how you can make really good money off of low-level items and why they're worth so much money. Now let's jump straight into actually buying and reselling on the auction house. Now, buying and reselling on the auction house is the easiest way to make gold in the game. It takes pretty much no effort. It just requires you to log on the auction house once or twice a day, or maybe a couple of hours if you're playing. Once every couple of hours, that is, and just having a look at certain items that you've kind of pre-selected, that you're going to try to snipe on bids or just buy out on auctions because you know how much they're worth. Now, the reason I recommend choosing certain items is because it's easy to keep up with the price of a certain item if you were watching it every single day. You know how much item is going to be worth. You just roughly know which stats are going to make it more expensive, and it just generally saves a lot of time learning new items and just figuring out like 20 items to sell and buy. So normally I keep my eye on about 3 or 4 items, different item types. Like as you can see here, I used Innas a lot. Inna's set was kind of what I went for, and then weapons with an open socket and crit. Now we're going to actually have a look straight on the auction house, and I'll go over the stats you want to look for on items. Now the main thing to remember when you're buying and reselling is the way you're making gold is actually, I'm not going to say you're taking advantage of players' kind of ignorance towards prices, but you are kind of thriving on, people not double checking prices before they put things up and just completely not valuing their items correctly. So times during like peak times when there's lots of people on are the kind of, it's more likely you're going to find items that are going to be misvalued on the auction house. So the best way to do this, obviously, the best times I would say are like Friday, Saturday nights when there's loads of people on, but it could be done at any time in the week because people misvalue items all of the time. So normally, so the first thing I want to show you is pretty much the main way I used to make gold, months and months ago. I don't do it anymore because I just got a bit bored of it, but what I do is I search for, most weapons with an open socket and critical hit damage are valued at a high amount. Those are the main stats you want on a weapon. Everything else on there, like, strength, vitality, dexterity, lifesteal, all come on there as well, but those are the 2 main stats to make an actual weapon worth money. Now, what I would normally do is I'd search critical hit with a socket. I'd find out kind of a roughly value on how much items are worth. So I'll type in 1,000,000, and as you can see, we're looking at about 980 DPS with a socket and critical hit damage on there for less than 1,000,000. So we know that something roughly 900 plus DPS is worth 1,000,000 gold, depending on the item type. Now, when I say depending on the item type, one-handed weapons, spears aren't worth a lot, and maces are worth a bit. Well, they're kind of worth just as much. Just slower items are generally not worth as much. Axes and maces kind of have an exception with barbarians because they get critical hit damage off their passive from it. But generally, spears aren't worth as much because they're so slow, 1.2 attack speed. So 350k as you can see for that, but 1,000,000 for 950 DPS. So we're looking at about 1,000,000 for 900 plus DPS. So we know kind of roughly how much we're looking for. Now what you do is, since you can sort it by time left on the auction house now, so what that means is it shows the second someone puts it up, it'll show on the top of the list. Now what you do is you keep refreshing the page, and what you're watching is you're watching the buyout price and the DPS. So if you see something pop up for, like 500k and it's 980 DPS, or better example, like let's say it's 100k and it's 950 DPS, you're probably going to make a profit off that item, seeing how most items at 950k are worth 1,000,000 gold. So if you buy an item for 50k and sell it out for 1,000,000, you're making a crazy profit. And this does happen constantly. I mean, like, the item I showed you guys earlier, I think I bought for 50k and I sold for 1.5 mil. That happens all the time, especially when it's busy. So you just need to keep refreshing the page over and over. And the more you do this, the more you sit here and do this, the better you get to know the item values and the quicker you get at buying the item. Because obviously, when you see the item pop up, you click on it, and then you have to read it for a second because you got to make sure the stats are correct and the ones you want. And sometimes when you're reading it, someone else will buy this item. Lots of people do this. So as you do this more, you get way quicker at it and you make more money, obviously, because like the second you see it, you click it and then buy the item right away without even reading it, because you know, just glancing at the stats, that's worth the money that it comes up as. So like I said, you want to check your prices first. Type in the maximum buyout of $1 million just to get roughly the prices, how much they're worth at, 900 DPS or whatever $1 million will get you, and then that's when you go from there. So I've made some pretty crazy profits off this, like 10 million gold. I bought an item for like 100 or 100k, sold it out for 10 million. People misvalue stuff like this continuously, and it will never stop as long as people keep playing Diablo. That's how like Moldran made his first billion gold, was buying and reselling off the auction house. Obviously that guy's super good with like numbers, and he's just really quick in general, so he picked it up pretty quickly, but that's how he made his first bill. And I don't know if I said million earlier, but billion, and it's really, really good in terms of money making. So as you get to know your items better, this kind of way of doing it works very, very well, and I definitely recommend it. And another thing, just for a bit of a quick efficiency tip, when you're buying and reselling the item, or when you're buying the item and you want to snipe it really quickly, let me show you something. I don't want to spend too much gold doing that, obviously. If you actually hit enter when you're on the item, so if you hit enter, or sorry, yeah, is it? Oh, okay. No, sorry. If you hit buyout, then you hit enter, it'll buy the item. So you don't have to hit buyout and then click buyout. You have to just hit buyout, click enter, and it'll buy the item like that. So that's just really quick. So you can just be like, boom, bought, just like that. So obviously there's not too much clicking involved. But yeah, as you'll get to know doing this, it is very competitive, and there are lots of people who are quick as hell who will click that buyout button and click enter before you even see the item. So the more you do it, the better you get. Don't get discouraged if it doesn't work right away, and you will make some stupid purchases. I've accidentally bought some items and actually made a loss on them, but that gets better and better as you do it more, and you're just more careful. I probably wasn't paying attention, but yeah, you do kind of learn how to do it a bit better. So when it comes to choosing items you actually want to buy and resell in the auction house, it does require a bit of studying the stats. It would make that item expensive, and just kind of understanding why they make it expensive and how they make it expensive, pretty much. So for example, like the one thing I showed you earlier, I bought an Inna's Radiance, which is the Inna's helm for the sets, the monk set, and I bought it for 1.5 million. Now, the stats on that are very good for 1.5 million, and I knew that because I actually took time to research which stats would be good on an item. I sold it back for 4.6 million, so that's triple the profit after the auction house cut. Now, obviously, to figure out if the stats were good or not, it just takes a lot of kind of sitting there and just typing in the stats that you want on the item. So, find out the base stats of the item you want to search. So, 100k will get you an Inna's with low dexterity, low vitality, and maybe an all resist, or maybe a resist on there. Don't know what's going on with the auction house here, but it's not showing full searches for each page. So you know that all of the Innas there are pretty low dex. They're going to be pretty low vitality, and maybe an extra stat on there. So first thing you want to do is you want to modify the dexterity. So as we can see, dexterity 128 is low end. So you want to type in till you get a higher amount, which is probably about 170. Yeah, so as you can see, the price goes up by quite a bit, and then the secondary stat on that item looked like it was vitality. So we know it's vitality, and we know that low price is going to get us low vitality. So we want to type in a higher amount of vitality, 140. Now that's going to bring up the price by a drastic amount. So we know that those two stats are the main stats that are going to increase the price on this item. So as we can see, 170 dexterity, 158 vitality is worth about 2.5 million to 3 million gold. All of these are going to be very, very similar. Now, as you can see, you just have to look through the list. Now, we have one with poison resist here. Where'd it go? There we go. Poison resist, and that's worth 3 million. So it's got another stat on there. We're going to search for poison resist now and see what will come up. All right, so as you can see, that one it's about right. So that item isn't going to be valued more than it's on the auction house for right now, just because we know that the rest of the items that are up have similar stats and they're still on the auction house. And they haven't been sold yet. So unless we see something, if we saw that for maybe 1.2 million gold or 1.5 million gold, we know it would be worth 3 million gold, because there's items with very similar stats up for a lot more than we would have bought it for at 1.5 million. Now let's have a look at the item I bought before and determine why it was worth so much. So as you can see on it, has 173 dex, 175 vite, and then 50 poison resist. So let's type that into the auction house right now. So normally I type in a bit less stats than the item's actually worth, mainly because, you could find an item with 2 less stats for a lot less gold on there. So as we can see, roughly the same stats, but 3 million gold. So even now, this is sold weeks ago or bought weeks ago. It's still worth a pretty big profit. Now let's find the item again. It just kind of disappeared. So 173 dex, 175 bite, 50 poison resist. That's actually better than that one, and it was 1.5 million. So just looking at the stats on the items, we can see that obviously if that one popped up that I'd bought before right now for that much gold, we would know that it's worth a lot less, because obviously if we're typing these stats in, it would come up for a lot less gold. So just to quickly recap on how we would find that item, you have to pick one item, and it could be any item. It could be, like Talrash's Allegiance or something. It could literally be anything. Obviously wipe those stats. So we're going to pick a completely new item we know nothing about. Talrash's Allegiance. It's an amulet, so we know on amulets you want critical hit damage or attack speed on there. Now this is probably going to be one of the harder items to find a profit off of, because they're all going to be very expensive. But as we know, we can see the critical hit chances on there, and it makes the item much more expensive. So obviously every day I'd log on, I'd search critical hit chance. That's going to make the item expensive. I'd search, and then if you see one a lot lower than the last auction, like a significant amount lower, you're going to buy it. That could work with anything. We'll pick a better example. We'll choose another Talrash's, but we'll go with the Relentless Pursuit, which is the chess piece. Now, as you can see, base, it's 1 million gold. So you have a look at the stats. It's a chess piece for casters. We know intelligence is the main stat, and it always has vitality on there as well. So we're going to search for intelligence, and then we're going to search for vitality. Those are obviously the stats that are going to make it more expensive. Now, knowing if the stats are going to make it more expensive, or just generally figuring out who the item would be used for, and just looking at the slots. So we know that on a chess piece, vitality and intelligence are very good stats. So 1 million gold is going to be the lowest. Now, obviously, if we type in more, like 180 intelligence, it's going to come up to, more expensive items, and maybe 100 vitality, and they're going to get even more expensive. So every day, I'd probably search for, a various amount of stats. So I'd log on, I'd search for 180 intelligence, I'd search for 100 vitality, and see what comes up. Now, I'd have a look, obviously, if one of those is a lot less expensive, which does happen quite often. Like, if I saw one for 4 million, I'd buy it straight away. Like, absolutely just straight away. Now, every day I just log on and search for this item, and I just mess around with the stats. So, like, I type in 150 intelligence, 70 vitality, probably go down to 1.5, yeah, and then I'd search all resist on there as well. That's going to raise the price. Now, if I found one that was a huge amount less, now this one is a huge amount less, 5 million less, but it's going to have no all resist. Yeah, so the all resist is really, really low on it. Alright, so it turns out the all resist is actually low on all of them, so technically this should be a very good bargain. 5 million gold less than the one next to it. But the one thing you have to look at, the key kind of ingredient when buying and reselling in the auction house, is the time left on the auction. So we know automatically by looking at the time left that no one has bought this in almost 24 hours, so it couldn't be that good of a bargain, otherwise someone would have snatched it up. Now this rule obviously isn't it doesn't always work. Sometimes people don't see items, but hundreds of thousands of people looking in the auction house for bargains, that's going to be, if it's such a good bargain, it's going to be bought and resold within 24 hours of it being posted. So what we have to check is if there's something with similar stats. We're going to type in 10 less intelligence. I have a feeling when we type this in, it's going to bring up at least 4 or 5 more chess pieces at 10 million gold. Yeah, so it's brought up 2 more chess pieces at 10 million gold for 10 less intelligence. So we know that's not a good bargain, really. So at this point, we'd really be looking at something with roughly these stats for, if we were going to buy it, we'd have to spend about 4 million gold to get a reasonable profit. So it would be like a noticeable difference. So what would happen is we'd search for it, and then these are the stats I would search every day. I'd just sit here and just search those and see if I can make a profit off this item. And then I just search that every single day, those exact stats, and then, obviously depending on the price, if something popped up for 4 million gold with one hour or 1 day, 12 hours left, which is going to happen eventually. People do misvalue items like this all the time. Then I would just buy it and sell it. Like you said, it's a bit down to luck depending on if you check at the right time and it just popped up. And then another thing to look at is bidding. Bidding is huge. So, we know that item's worth roughly 10 million gold. Now we're going to search for time left, and we're going to go to the lowest time left. Now, if one of these items was valued at, like the bid was down to 2 million gold or something, or up to 2 million gold, and it had a couple minutes left, I'd watch that item and I'd bid on it towards the end of the the duration on the bid timer. Now, this is a crazy way of making gold, and it does take a bit of kind of paying attention and timing, and just obviously we know the item's worth 10 million gold, so if there's something up there for 1 million gold, we know it's probably going to be bid on a lot, and we need to be quick with our bidding kind of trigger finger. Now, when you bid on an item, this is a tough part. Now, we're going to bid on something like really cheap. Just let's not search for that. Let's just search for something. All right, we're just going to bid on something cheap. So we know, let's have a look. So if we bid on something with 2 minutes left, we'll bid on that. Is that just going to buy it out with a... That's just going to buy it out, isn't it? Okay, I just need to find something. There we go. Okay, so we're going to bid on that. Now, when we bid on it, it's going to show up in this tab, and it'll show the time left. Now, when it hits 2 minutes, I just refresh this page over and over until it says 1 minute. It should just automatically refresh on its own, but sometimes it doesn't, so I just do that once in a while. Now, the second it hits minus 1 minute, I start a timer on my phone or on my computer. The time's down from, or time's up from 0 to 60 seconds. And on the last 2 seconds of the bid, I'll just click on it. I'll click bid, and then I'll just bid over top of whatever. So I'll just bid on it last 2 seconds. Now, it's the best way to do it. You just have to wait till it says minus 1 minute and start a timer. If you have really good timing or you sit there counting to 60, it'll work as well. But get like a stopwatch on your phone or a stopwatch on your computer, just anything. And that's how you really, really watch your bids. And it works so, so well. Now, you have to remember, you're not always going to win the bid. There's people doing the exact same thing, sitting there with timers. And, it's going to be a pain in the ass to do. So you do need to have a bit of patience with it. And it does work out in the end. So... Alright, so just to quickly recap on how buying and selling works, obviously you pick an item you want to buy and resell every day. It could be any legendary, it could be a yellow. You find out what stats make that expensive. So like, if it's a chess piece, prime stats, intelligence, vitality, all resist, sockets, things like that will make the item more expensive. And you search for those stats, you set a minimum stat value, and you search for those stats every day, and you wait till you see an item that's drastically cheaper than the one above it. And then when you find that item is drastically cheaper, you quickly type in some lower stats on the item to see if there's anything similar. Stats maybe a bit lower for roughly the same price. If there's not, you buy it, and then you resell it at the value that the highest item is on the auction house, or the lowest item on the auction house is with those stats. So if you get a chess piece with 150 intelligence, 150 vitality for 10 million up there, and you end up buying one for 4 million, you put it up for 9 million, and you're roughly going to make 5 million profit. This does work very, very well. You just need to pick some items and just persevere and stick with those items. If you're very good with the auction house and you know what stats you want to look for, you can search for a variety of items every single day. Like, I think I search for like 9 or 10 items every single day, and I just stick to those items, and it works out really well in the end. Now, in terms of which stats are worthwhile, obviously you guys will probably know which stats will make most items worthwhile nowadays, but I am making a guide for this late next week. And I'm going to go over exactly each slot and which stats will make that slot more expensive and which combinations of stats will make that slot more expensive. So that's definitely something to look forward to. But yeah, let's move on to low-level gear and how it can actually make you crazy amounts of money. Alright, so let's quickly have a look into low-level items that are worth loads of money and how you can make money off just making them, finding them, things like that. Now, crafting materials, subolescences are worth quite a bit, considering these drop in normal mode, Acts 1 through 4. Now, you can run normal mode Monster Power 10 just very efficiently with 25% move speed, your best movement spec, and pick up so many blues. Like, you fill your inventory once every 5 minutes with blues. So your full inventory full of blues, maybe like you get like 30 or 40 subolescences. That's 200k gold, not even every 10 minutes. So this works very, very well. You just pick up blue items, pick up yellow items, salvage them down, and then you sell the subolescences. And I'm pretty sure the Fallen Tooths are worth an okay amount as well. Yeah, 600 gold each. So when you get your 5-stack Valor, Nephilim Valor, when you're on Monster Power 10, on Act 1, or 2, 3, or 4, you make so many blue items, and you can just buy them and resell them. It is absolutely amazing. Now, in terms of actual items that are worth a lot, low-level items are worth quite a bit. When I say low-level, I mean anywhere from levels 0 through 30. Now, so why they're so expensive is getting experience on low-level gear is very important to lots of players, because people don't enjoy leveling that much, believe it or not. They don't actually enjoy sitting there doing all 4 acts in a row, and they just want to do it as quickly as possible. So what that means is you get experience gear. So experience gear is going to be worth quite a bit. So let's just search a chest piece with strength and experience. Now, oops, sorry, and experience. Now, see, as you can see, the lowest one is well, there's a blue one up for 30k, and there's another one up for 300k. So they're going to be worth, they will sell for 300k. They do sell for 300k, and that's going to not change for a while, until at least until people start farming these consistently and the prices go down. So the same works with intelligence. As you can see, a chest piece with intelligence and experience is roughly 190k still. So what this means is when you're killing monsters in low item levels, or power item levels, in low monster levels or monster power levels, it's very easy to come across these chest pieces. You're going to come across a few every hour at least. So that's, you know, guaranteed a couple 100k off those items. And the same works for dexterity. It's absolutely unbelievable. As you can see, we're looking at 100k for an item with dexterity. Now, if you add vitality on this piece, it's more likely to sell. People will buy it with more vitality on it. So as you can see, a chest piece of dexterity, vitality, and experience is worth 350k, and that will sell again, guaranteed. Someone will buy that. Now, why do people want to buy it with vitality, and why will they pay so much more? Because if you farm on higher monster power, so if you get crazy DPS for level 10 character and you go monster power 10, your experience is going to go up so fast. But to take hits, you're obviously going to need vitality. So people will pay the extra for vitality on that gear. It's absolutely unbelievable how much people will pay for these items. I've sold level 10 items for almost 700k gold. So it does work, and people will pay it. Now, in terms of actually buying and reselling these items, so every day when I was level 30 below, when we started the Starting Fresh series, I just quickly search level 10 item, dexterity, experience, vitality, and I just do a search, just like that. And if I saw one for 20k, which someone's going to put it up for, or 5k, I'd buy it and sell it up for 300k. No problem. Everyone, you know, if you get a level 10 character first time playing the game and he finds a chest piece, he's not going to search for the stats and how much it's worth. If it's first time going through a game, he's just going to put that item on the auction house. He's going to say, wow, 5k, that's a lot of gold. I'm going to put up this chest piece for 5,000 gold when it's worth 300k, and you'll buy it for 5k, and, you know, all's awesome in the world. Like this, for example, there's no chest pieces with intelligence, vitality, and experience in the auction house. So you could sell probably one out for right now for about 500k. Now, if I bought this bid for 8,400, I would make, you know, roughly 480,000 profit. No problem. And this would sell for that much. So low level items sell for a lot right now. If you're watching this guide in a couple months, I'm not sure if they will be, but they definitely do. So as you can see, legs, similar stats, below level 10. Selling for 100k. That's, you know, and they will sell for that. They do sell for that. You would be surprised. Log on and try it. Change intelligence, dexterity, and 100k. So we can go grind right now and find some yellow items and probably sell them for 100k easily. And rings, unbelievable. You can sell rings for crazy amounts on low levels. I've sold rings for almost 1 million gold on low level rings. So until everyone starts doing this and the items are just worth nothing because everyone's doing it, then it'll be a very good way of making money. So we're going to log in the game and actually just kind of mess around with some low monster powers, and I'll show you how much money you can actually make. Alright, so on this run, it didn't take that long, and we didn't even do a full run. We made 116 sub-essences, which is worth 70k. So roughly 100k just off the mats. Then off items itself, these will all sell for this amount. So, you know, we're looking at 300, 400, 500... But 700, 600k for that one run. Probably about 600 after the auction house cut, which is pretty reasonable. That took me about 20 minutes overall, and it wasn't even a full run. So it's really good way of making gold. And then whenever you find yellows, like I'd say the yellows that are worth the most are ones with experience on them, or actually the ones that are really only worth anything have experience on them. And then like really good ones that sell for a lot are one-handed crossbows, chest pieces, and legs with high experience, and well, not high experience, it's experience and a stat, and then shoulders sell for quite a bit as well. So, but it all just determines on the stats like that. Intelligence and experience, the lowest one was 200k, so I put that up for 125k, and the one with the dexterity was only 75k, so I chose to sell it for the intelligence, and it'll sell for 125. Like last run I did was on the 31st of a 12th. I did a Act 2 run, I think it was. and we made 600k just off those items, which was really nice. So you can make oh no, I think it was on the 30th. Sorry, yeah, we made 300k off one run. It took like 10 minutes. So you can make crazy amounts of gold off this, and it is a nice change from just doing Inferno all the time. Like, you can just run through Act 1 or run through Act 2 or something and pick up a decent amount of gold while you're at it. But this is really good for like beginners who aren't doing too well in Inferno, and they just need to get that extra gold to buy their Inferno gear. So very, very excellent way of making gold. And if you're leveling up a new character, you're guaranteed to make a couple million as well, which is always really nice. Alright guys, so that wraps it up for episode 3 of the Starting Fresh series. There will be an episode 4, it will be out in 2 weeks from now, and we're just pretty much going to recap what we've done in the first 3 episodes. So pretty much anyone can do this. I mean, like, this character had 18 million gold before we even hit Inferno Act 3, and anyone can do that using all the tips you've learned in the the Starting Fresh series. Buying and reselling is huge, low-level items is huge, and knowing what to pick up in Inferno difficulty is pretty good for efficiency as well. So, but episode 4 will have a couple more tips, but it'll mainly recap what we've learned over the 3 episodes together. So yeah, guys, I'll put a link up on the screen for a video if you haven't watched. I have the Demon Hunter Legendary Guide out now. Sorry, the Witch Doctor Legendary Guide out right now, and yeah, it's just goes over all the legendaries and what stats you want on each legendary and what makes them more expensive, what makes them cheaper, things like that. Which ones to buy, which ones not to buy. But yeah, check out that if you haven't, and definitely check out my Twitter page as well, because I do keep updates on that, how video progress is going and things like that as well. So yeah, guys, thank you very much. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.